One night ago, a woman by the name of Alison Rapp was brought to my attention. The case was rather curious. A woman fired from her job at Nintendo and blaming her firing on GamerGate. But GamerGate is largely an issue of the past. Was this group responsible for her firing? Or is there more to the story? Today, we look at the curious case of Alison Rapp. My first stop was Alison's Twitter, where she posted the following tweet. Today, the decision was made. I am no longer a good, safe representative of Nintendo, and my employment has been terminated. This tweet, already couched in pejorative language, piqued my interest, but the more interesting tweet was the one right before it. Throughout this, GamerGate has been digging up all kinds of things about my personal life and contacting Nintendo about them. In an attempt to further explain the situation in more than 140 characters, Alison linked to a Kotaku article. The article discusses how Alison has been harassed online to the point where people began calling to Nintendo to fire her. In linking her harassment to GamerGate, Kotaku explains, if you've witnessed this kind of chanter culture / GamerGate drama before, you know the playbook. Discredit, harass, shame, isolate, maybe find a skeleton in a person's closet that calls their reputation into question. Today's most visible target is a woman named Alison Rapp, a mid-level marketing person at Nintendo who has been accused of somehow being a driving force behind the supposed censorship of that company's games. Yet, even Kotaku questions who to blame, saying later in the article, who exactly is going after Rapp? The easy answer is GamerGate, the all-too-familiar amorphous group of gamers who organized in summer 2014 after game designer Zoe Quinn's sex life was made public and eventually ended up at Ethics in Games Journalism. Yet even those within such circles claim this particular incident has nothing to do with GamerGate, but a spin-off group called Revolts. Yet, the supporting evidence for that claim comes from one Jodis Welch, who casually mentioned this in one relatively uninfluential tweet. So, who is really responsible? A simple Google search reveals a larger story. The Daily Stormer posted an article about Alison in late February 2016, calling her the new voice of child sex crusaders, where they zeroed in on a paper she presented at a conference in Hawaii, which in Alison's verbose words, is a journal article arguing that Western pressure on Japan to strengthen its censorship laws regarding media depictions of fictional minors is ethnocentric, and a red herring designed to shift the blame for violence against children from governments and other patriarchal power structures to relatively passive media producers and consumers. The Daily Stormer, however, argued that Alison Rapp's crusade to legalize child pornography and child sex comes across as the next logical step in the liberal march toward wherever these women and Jews think it's marching toward. Ah, that's right. The Daily Stormer is an American neo-Nazi and white supremacist news and commentary website. Dig a little deeper and we find a comment instructing the website's readership on how to harm Alison's career. Here's the contacts that I got in my Rolodex. When you contact these people, be very respectful. Act as a concerned parent. Link to the pro-pedo statements she's made, but obviously don't link back to Daily Stormer, or she'll be able to dismiss it as a white supremacist conspiracy. So it appears it's not just GamerGate targeting Alison, if they're even targeting her at all. She has at least one other significant group to contend with. After a flurry of media speculation, Nintendo stepped in by issuing an official statement to IGN. Alison Rapp was terminated due to violation of an internal company policy involving holding a second job in conflict with Nintendo's corporate culture. Though Ms. Rapp's termination follows her being the subject of criticism from certain groups via social media several weeks ago, the two are absolutely not related. Nintendo is a company committed to fostering inclusion and diversity in both our company and the broader video game industry, and we firmly reject the harassment of individuals based on gender, race, or personal beliefs. We wish Ms. Rapp well in her future endeavors. Alison Rapp responded, "The second job thing? Funny story. Moonlighting is actually accepted at Nintendo. It's policy. To pay off student loans, I started moonlighting under a fake name and with no real identifiers. An anon found out, told them, and here we are. It was moonlighting Nintendo didn't like, despite the fact that it was anonymous. Here's the thing, do you honestly think that without GamerGate's attacks, the lateral move and the obsessive privacy digging would have happened? Meanwhile, Alison had posted photoshoot teasers on her account that is publicly linked to Nintendo, and writings that demonstrate her awareness of having to maintain an acceptable image for Nintendo. While she was singled out and a high-profile target, she also continued to buck the system in intentionally provocative ways. So the question becomes, who is really to blame? When approaching law enforcement for protection in a cyber harassment situation like this, the first thing the police will tell you is to stop talking. Stop provoking the enemy and stop fanning the flames. Alison may have a job to do, but by continuing to taunt those harassing her, as evidenced by her flurry of activity on Twitter following her firing, she made the consequences worse than they may have been otherwise. Alison wraps up the conversation by saying, "I would love if the convo was less about specific actors and more about how we can make the industry the best, most progressive it can be." In my opinion, the best way to accomplish this is to stop linking this incident to GamerGate, a claim that has been dubious in origin from the start. The larger issue isn't that GamerGate attacked her, if this is even true, particularly when there are far more serious, more dangerous groups out there attacking her. The issue is that she is being attacked at all, and the issue isn't limited to Alison. The proliferation of technology and easy-to-find information makes everything a numbers game. Every time you write a post online, post a controversial opinion, do something as academic as writing a thesis, or something as scandalous as moonlighting and taking indiscreet photos of yourself, you are playing the odds that you can fly under the radar. But the moment you play Icarus and fly too close to the sun, you've exposed yourself to the light of day for the rest of the world to see. The problem isn't GamerGate. The problem is cyber warfare, a technological war of information that used to be waged between countries, but is now waged between individuals. And it's up to you, dear viewer, to decide if this is acceptable now that you know the curious case of Alison Rapp.